Live. Go, Matt.
Oh, mine still says off air, but I'll trust that it's correct. Well, hello everyone. This is my first time doing an intro to one of these on-air hangouts for LDUH, and this time around we're doing my pick, which is Armada by Ernest Cline, author of Ready Player One, who we read, I think it was last year. It wasn't too long ago. It's still in my memory, so it can't have been too long ago. And I picked this one for a couple of reasons. One was I pretty much enjoyed Ready Player One and was keen to see what else this guy could come up with. And also because Kirsten bought it for me. So that was an easy choice because it was something I already had. So that's what we're going to talk about, Armada. Now, I think it's normally customary to ask everyone else how they feel first, or should I give thoughts first because it was my pick?
Your choice. You can go first or you can throw it to someone else. Entirely up to you.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, I'll give some general thoughts first then. So the first thing I noticed when I was putting this back on the shelf was that I wish I'd read it, or at least had a look at the dust jacket when I was reading this, because it actually has, inside the dust jacket, there are some schematics.
Oh, wow.
Here of the interceptors, the drone interceptors that the Defence Force flies. Now, well, that's coming up, so they've got different like views of it. It's like a front-on view thing there. So it's kind of like a cross between, an X-wing and a Viper from Battlestar Galactica, if you know that at all, and possibly something else mixed in there as well. But apparently he got a friend who does technical illustration and sci-fi type stuff to do that up. I was like, oh, that would have been really helpful, because I had a very different look in my mind when I was imagining these interceptors. I imagined them much more bulky and kind of clunky looking than they do in this illustration, where they're more sleek and streamlined. So that would have been something I should have done, but I didn't, but that's okay. Okay, so thoughts on the book itself. I kind of feel bad saying it, but I thought the playlist for the book was a lot better than the book itself. I don't know if it's not to say that I didn't like the book. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't think it was like amazing either. As usual, I liked the concept. I thought the concept was interesting. Parts of it were executed okay and other parts not. I don't know if anyone's ever told him, but I don't think he should write dialogue for anyone ever again. And yeah, some of his characterizations are, well, cliche, I guess, and tropish, and just very like, hey, everyone who can possibly pair up is pairing up and boning before the end of the world in the like few hours that's remaining, and that's totally realistic. Obviously, I don't think realism is something that we're meant to go for hugely here, but it did make reading it a bit of a, I don't know. I had to suspend my disbelief a bit more than usual, and it was because of the people rather than the setting, which is kind of probably not what you necessarily want. So on the plus side, I thought it was interesting. I guess it's spoilers for anyone who hasn't read it, that it's essentially like a big live version of a video game, both from the enemy side as well as the human side, and how that plays out. And they decided to use drones, which I guess, had this actually been made in the 80s, drones weren't really a thing, so they all would have been, just everyone would have piloted their actual craft, and in this case it's all remote controlled stuff. So I guess that's kind of an interesting thing about setting it now, and the sort of remote controlled warfare world that we live in. I kind of liked the idea of, like, you know, this mysterious race out there testing humanity, and you know, he name checks so much stuff in it, and I think I'm going on for a very long time. I apologize. I've got a lot of thoughts about this book. He name checked a lot more pop culture references in this, like way more than there was in Ready Player One, and like right across the gamut of movies and music and TV and video games, obviously, and it just felt a lot more forced in this one than it did in Ready Player One. Whereas they tended to be a bit more around just gaming, and that was those that, you know, they were gamers, but everyone who was in the Defence Force was making pop cultural references, including people who, you know, weren't even recruited through part of the video game training in the first place. They weren't gamers to start with. They were military people who got drafted into the Earth Defence Alliance. But they were still making references to stuff, and I thought, well, that's really a bit odd. So it was a bit forced in places, and I feel like I'm not normally very negative when it comes to things, and I feel like I'm making it sound a lot worse than it was. It was fun, but just, I don't know, not very good. The one last thing I'll say before I move on is right in the first chapter, probably like about 5 or 6 pages in, I had this like moment of, I'm questioning your geek credibility. And I think I told Kirsten this already, but Zach is talking about, I forget exactly the context, but he mentions something from one sci-fi type series, and then he says Klingon warbirds. And unless you've only
his references,
sort of up until one very particular episode of Voyager, and it was only mentioned once as a throwaway kind of thing, and even then by accident, it was always Romulan warbirds and Klingon bird of prey. And to get them mixed up, I'm like, oh, I don't know how much of a Star Trek fan you actually are, but you're throwing in the reference there and you fucked it up.
Unless it was on purpose.
I don't think it's so, because it's like such a, like it's literally referenced once in 5 series of Star Trek. And even then it was an accident by the producers that got left in because they didn't check it. So anyway, liked the idea, liked some of the execution.
That's what I mean. Maybe it's a reference to that. That's all I meant. Yeah, but yeah.
No, he just didn't get it right. Yeah, I got no. Didn't enjoy his dialogue at all. It was very, very cringy to read a lot of the time. So I think, you know, if I don't know if they'll ever make a movie of this one. I know Ready Player One's getting made, but I think this is almost like I don't know if anyone's actually watched Iron Eagle.
No. I've watched the last Starfighter.
Yeah, so like that same sort of era, same level of cheesiness. It's basically like a book version of those kind of 80s cheesy action sci-fi type movies. But I don't know if it's just different times or what, but it just didn't work for me. So liked it, but not loved it, and could have been a lot better in places. Sorry, Kirsten, if you were worried that you bought me a dodgy book.
You had it on your wish list, so it's not my fault. I don't feel bad if you didn't like it because I bought it off your wish list. So,
and you can't always win these things.
No, that's right.
Sometimes you put things on your wish list because you think you're going to like them and you don't. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So after that massive chat fest, I'm going to work down from my furthest right. So that means Sarah is next up.
All right. I pretty much echo Matt's sentiments. The word that I have is predictable. I thought this book was incredibly predictable, and I found all of the pop culture references became distracting after a while.
Yeah.
I just felt like, and kind of just felt really unrealistic because these, so I'm so Lieutenant Light, or not Lieutenant, the Worker Lightman, the dad,
Oh, the
would
general,
be-
his dad.
Yeah, general. Thank you. He's like 37, so this would have been set like in a couple of years from now, and then that kid would
Somewhere
have
around
been
there, yeah.
born what round?
About just before the 2000, or no, about
Yeah,
2000,
right?
I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the dad, when they at the end with his headstone, I was like, oh, the dad was born in the same year as me.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Which I actually think was a mistake. I think putting the dates on the headstones was a big mistake. I think it kind of like, I think it would have been good just to kind of guesstimate that
Have it, yeah.
out of the 80s and then not really know, because then it could be set
And I-
in a 10-year period. But it just didn't ring. It's true. I don't know. So yeah, predictable. The moment they mentioned the dad, I thought he's going to show up, and the moment I just was like, and when it kind of happened, I was like, oh, and I was also just, I actually wrote, I've got some notes I'll pull out later when we talk about it, but I was just really angry. That whole scenario just feels, all the time it comes out, I don't know what the other parents in here think, but it always feels like it's written by a non-parent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sitting there going, this is obviously, I don't know if Ernest Cline has kids.
I believe he does, actually, when I was reading the acknowledgements.
He does or he doesn't? I know he isn't.
I think he does.
All right.
You're pinning your hopes on that he didn't.
Because Jesus.
Yeah, he's got a daughter.
Because then at least you'd have an excuse for writing it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was just like, I just really, I really hate that trope. I really hate it. I hated also, I thought it was unrealistic that they would have been stationed on the moon all that time, because it's also really like, they would have gone mad, because there's a whole lot of things that would have been lacking, not just, anyway, that just pissed me off. And I got really confused by how do you say what the antids?
Oh, I was like, do I actually pronounce it, or I just do ATHIDs or ATIDs or?
Yeah, I just
ATIDs
read it as an acronym in my head. I didn't try and pronounce it as a word.
What does it stand for?
I don't know. I assumed it stood for something, but I figured either they haven't told me, or I somehow just didn't register it when they.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Or am I just not enough of a geek that I didn't know?
I think they did mention it once, but I cannot remember what it was for. It clearly wasn't very memorable.
Yeah.
Even if it was a reference that you're supposed to know, they should still tell you. Otherwise, they're expecting everybody to know all the same references, and that's too much.
Yeah.
I just predictable. It felt so tropey. I knew it was a game. I knew the aliens were playing a game at the end of it. Yeah. I was like it was, well, not even at the end. I knew it was like, they're playing, this is their game. Which I knew.
Yeah.
The whole pairing up thing pissed me off. It didn't piss me off. I just kind of went, ugh. I rolled my eyes. There was just, I don't know, I just felt, compared to Ready Player One, this didn't feel as clean. And do you know what it actually felt like? It felt like a tween novel. It didn't even feel like a young adult.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yep, I was going to say it read to me like a kid's book, not a young adult book, a kid's book.
Yeah, it read somewhere around that 11-12 mark. And so not quite young adults, not quite children's, and then what didn't ring true was the pop culture references, because then I felt that's too much. That's written for an older audience who's gonna get it, And I'm a child of the 80s, and I freaking love 80s, and I actually had to go and like listen to Paul, what's his face, doing his thing on The Last Starfighter, because they didn't know what the voice was. It's just like,
Yeah, actually.
Oh no, you Pee Wee Herman doing the
Flight you're talking about Flight of the Navigator. I knew that one because I watched a lot of Flight of the Navigator when I was younger. But I did think, when I saw at the end that guy was my age, I'm like, he did not know all that shit then. If he's my age, because I'm too young for all of that, because I was a little kid when most of that stuff was big. You needed to be in your you need to be a teenager in the 80s to really have gotten all of those references. Yeah, and I wasn't.
I got a shitload of them. And I was
me too.
6. But there was still lots I wasn't like.
Yeah, but I sort of thought, like, not that I didn't understand the references, but like he's talking about like the first Atari and how he's got all these badges from being the top at the first Atari. Well, that game console, he would have been like 5. So, so either he's playing an older game console and getting all the badges, but then how's he sending away to Atari and getting all the badges when Atari was not really a company anymore after like they kind of wouldn't be sending out all these badges for a game that was 10 years old. So how old was he when he was doing that?
In 1980 itself, like that game, that's the Magic Mythical game.
Oh yeah.
Which he wouldn't have been able to. And that's the other thing is that I remember I'm older than him, and than General Lightman, and I remember seeing arcades, and I did get to play them. But by that point, I was a teenager, and they actually were on the way out already.
Yeah.
They were on the way out. Home consoles and that type style had really taken over. So again, you would have, like Kirsten said, you would actually have had to be a teenager.
A teenager in the 80s.
In the 80s for that made more sense to be in the arcades. Anyway, that was that. So I'll move on because I'm taking too long.
Hey, I took ages. Take your time.
I thought it was, well, I don't want to piss off the other 3. I thought it was predictable. I thought it read like a children's novel, and that would have been fine if it was. Yep. But I thought all the pop culture became distracting. And I kept thinking, any 12-year-old reading this, is it going to be like, oh, for fuck's sake? You know, it kept pulling, you know. So I felt like it couldn't decide whether it was trying to be a piece of nostalgia or a kid's book. And it didn't really work in either. So there you go. I don't know who's next, but
that'll be Kirsten. But before you jump in, Kirsten, I did find out what ATHID stands for, and it's Armored Tactical Humanoid Infantry Drone.
Rightio.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, Kirsten, next.
So I'm going to say pretty much the same thing. I didn't hate it, and I did. Probably the best thing I can say is it was a nice, quick, easy read, and it was kind of fun. But yeah, I said to Matt before he'd even started it, which is probably a bad thing for me to do because I don't know whether I coloured his expectations, but I said it just felt like all of the references were shoehorned in, and it didn't feel like they were natural. Whereas in Ready Player One, I felt like, even though it's probably had just as many pop culture references, I felt they fit with, like, the main character was, I don't know, it just felt like, I think, was it you, Sarah, that said, like, or maybe it was Matt, that all the characters seemed to know all these references instead of it just being this core group of, okay, these people are really obsessed with these particular things, and so that's why they're referencing it all the time. It was like it's like he went, oh, we need lots of references in, so let's just have every random person make a pop culture reference instead of it being a part of one character's personality that they do that. And it just felt forced. It felt like he was trying to, it felt like he's gone, oh, that last book I wrote did really well. I want to try to do something similar and you know, like trying to have lightning strike twice in the same spot kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like he was trying to, like the first thing was this really great thing that happened, and then he's trying to force this one into being the same thing, and it's not.
Yeah, I feel that the reason it worked in Ready Player One is because it was part of the treasure hunt. Had nothing to do with the characters who were treasure hunting. They knew it had to do with the founder and the creator. It was his things, and so they were trying to work it out. So that's why it worked there, and here I completely agree. So that I just want to put that aside.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I did find, I felt that it was very tropey. The whole him meeting the girl at the thing, and she's like, "Go away," and then like 5 minutes later, like, and then what? They met each other for a little, like 5 minutes in this briefing when she told him to go away, and then he like was like, "I understand what your tattoo is." And
literally, apart from the two guys on the moon base and the mum and the dad who got back together after 17 years, everyone else who paired up literally had met each other hours before in the same day.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, and they're sending each other text messages with love hearts and stuff and saying blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you haven't even been on a date. You met each other 5 minutes ago, and you didn't even really, like, say anything to each other to imply that, anyway. So that annoyed me. The whole thing, like you said, Sarah, with the parent thing, you know, like, he's just going to leave his newborn baby and his wife, and that's, you know, not a big deal. Like, we're like, oh, well, he just... And I did actually feel sorry for the father, and I was like, okay, well, I can imagine that he's been roped into this and he hasn't had a choice about leaving and stuff, and he's got all these pictures of his kid and stuff. But then I was like, well, then when he went home and the mother was like, okay, let's just get back together again and pretend nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Because there's plenty of young guys who run, or plenty of guys who run out, right? I don't, you know, and I can imagine a 19-year-old totally, you know, freak out, run away kind of thing. But the way she reacted, I was like, no in hell way. Absolutely not. You're like, F off. So, yeah, sorry. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, you just, like, are you not realizing? Like, he doesn't even seem to, like, I guess he's missing out on, like, he's missed out on all this part of his child's life and his life. But do you realize what your wife went through? Like, it just, you know, that upset me. But
I mean, I kind of understand it from one point of view. Like, if you are convinced that the entire Earth and everyone on it is going to get blown away unless this is the only thing that you can do to help stop it, like, do you go, I'll give that up and try and save my family and everyone else, or not do it? So I can kind of see it a bit.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that bothered me as much as that when he went back.
Just the went back part.
Yeah, it wasn't sort of dealt with like it was as big a deal as what it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know.
I get the feeling he kind of hinged a lot of his character reactions on the hook of the world's ending in several hours. So everyone's just going with, whatever, don't give a fuck. Like, forget everything else.
Yeah.
We're all going to die in 6 hours, so who cares?
Yeah.
Which is kind of lazy and unrealistic at the same time. But
yeah. I'll probably go into more later as we talk, but yeah, I didn't hate it, and it was a nice, quick, easy, fun read. I'm trying to think what I really did like about it, and now I'm struggling, which is probably bad. But I mean, I did finish it. But I didn't like throw it at the wall and keep reading. But I did. I just felt like
Mel
was
did.
A bit. I did find it. I just felt like it was a bit lazy, and it was. I just felt like he was trying to recreate what his success from his past book, and instead of trying to come up with a new idea, he's tried to redo the old idea in a slightly different way, and it's backfired.
Yeah. Cool. That your last comment for now?
Yeah.
Cool. You just made me think of one other thing when we're talking about like forced references. There's one bit, I can't remember who it was kind of in their last stand, and the last thing they went out with was a line from a movie or something. I'm like, I don't think that would really happen. It probably just.
I think the other thing that annoyed me
a lot of
too,
yelling or grim silence.
a lot of the things that bothered me about the references too was he felt like he had to explain them all the time. Oh, such and such said this, and it was from this movie. And it's kind of, couldn't you just put the reference in there and have the character quote that thing and have us just, if you know that reference, you go, I get that reference, and get kind of. But it kind of felt like he was talking down to us, almost like, okay, just in case you don't understand that that's a thing from Star Wars or whatever, I'm going to tell you that it is, because.
And does that come back to the whole, like, who's he writing the book for? Like, the old enough audience is going to get most of the references anyway and doesn't need explanation.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving down the list. Kim's next.
Yay! Mel's probably got one last once. So I devoured this in 2 days, so I haven't really formed too many opinions, so it's good to listen to you guys first. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I do see all your points, and I probably agree with all your points, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was very easy to read, and I hadn't really formed many opinions besides that. The whole hooking up thing sort of went, And
It just
I found the
didn't need it.
whole psychological reasoning behind the end of everyone not rioting sort of was a little bit too much. Like, I get it in a certain degree, but people are still going to riot and destroy things when they think they're going to die, whether you leave it till the last minute or not. Psychologically, it sort of makes sense, but I don't think the whole thing made sense. So I think there were a lot of holes. I was happy that I think I was the only one here who hasn't read Ready Player One, so I can't compare it to that one. So
maybe that's why you liked it more than we did. Because
it may be. I certainly didn't have any expectations coming into it because obviously that was a really good book, so I definitely have to read it. I do plan on reading it, but I guess I didn't have that preconceived that I expected it to be as good as that. I just came into it not expecting anything, so it did have a lot of tropes. I enjoyed trying to see if there were quite a few references that he didn't really explain, although there were quite a few that he did. The ones that he did explain, most of them I got. Some of them, I know there was at least two references that went straight over my head. I'm like, yeah, that's obviously a reference, but I don't know what that's from, and he didn't explain it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it and I found it fun, but I really didn't find it, deep and complex in any way, really.
Yeah.
I just remembered something else I meant to say, was that the ending annoyed me because it was a Deus Ex Machina ending. It was like, oh, we're about to have this humongous battle and he's just going to go into space and talk to the aliens at the very end, and they're going to go, and not only do they go, well, let's not have this fight anymore because you've decided to change your mind and not destroy this thing of ours, but they also went, let's cure all the diseases on Earth and fix all of Earth's problems and give you unlimited power. And I was like,
that actually reminds me of the storyline in Stargate. Stargate? Where there was an alien race that came, in Stargate, like the series, where there was an alien race that came and cured everything, and then it turns out like it was like an alternate timeline. And
trying
they came in and cured everything.
And I cannot.
Yeah, they had to slingshot around a black hole or something, and it brought them back in time. But they'd agreed to join with this race that was acting all peaceful and shit, and said, "Oh, we can cure all your diseases." So they did that, cured all the disease, looked like they were in harmony. And 20 years later, they find out that they start finding out that 90% of the population who's had these immunizations are now sterile.
Yeah.
And basically, they peacefully killed off almost the entire human race by just, coming in with good intentions and sterilizing almost the entire population.
It'd be a good way to just get rid of us all, and we'd be all like, yay,
all they had to do was wait for everyone to go old and die, because no one could do anything. They just sort of went, all right, and they just sort of tried to keep it calm and peaceful until I think the part they were up to is people were finding out that they were sterile, and there wasn't that much of an alien presence left on the thing. It was just some ambassadors and some healthcare professionals and some people, so there weren't that many aliens there. So they basically just delivered all this medical thing, made it sound like it was so great, made the world they brought all this technology that made everything wonderful, but they were really just planning to kill everyone very slowly.
Yeah.
But from old age.
Yeah, good twist.
Yeah.
It was a really thought-provoking episode. That's what it sort of reminded me of at the end, was that there was this race that were being altruistic and bringing them up to their modern technology to make their lives better, but what was the plan in the end? And that sort of reminded me of that.
Maybe he watched that episode and did a half-assed job of ripping it off.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ernest, if you're watching.
Doubt it.
You never know.
Well, if he is watching, I really liked Ready Player One. I thought it was an excellent book.
Second one's our other hangout. We love that. We get
Look, we're all connected via.
Yeah, go find the other hangout
now, so it's all good. Cool. All right. I thought
looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Mel.
Yeah.
Mel's gearing up.
Thinking.
Let us have it, Mel.
Did I miss anything? No. Okay. Mel.
Everyone's waiting for me to put my rant pants on, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let rip.
Pants. I love it.
Go on.
Okay, so Nye and I both, because Nye did Ready Player One with me.
Yep.
And so he was really excited to listen to this one, and we did it together.
Oh, sorry. Did Will Wheaton do the audio for this one too?
Yes.
Oh no,
yes,
he did. Yeah.
Another good reason for going for it. We were like, "Yay, Will Wheaton! It's fantastic. This is going to be great." So we were driving home from Tamworth at Easter, and we plugged it in, and off we went. We got a quarter of the way through before we officially rage quit. Which happened at the exact moment when he met the chick. I don't remember anybody's names. This was April.
Lex, yeah.
I'm here purely for the rage. He met Lex and basically did the whole she's not interested, but then persisted, and we just looked at each other and went, yeah, we're done. We then proceeded to rage about it for the next 2 hours, talking to each other. So the chances of me going back and actually listening to this by myself was pretty slim.
Yeah, that annoyed me too.
Yeah, and it was all just so predictable. Like prior even to that point, we'd predicted everything.
Yeah,
The mother was involved. We were already the father's alive, and he's obviously working over there. He's going to meet. We had it all down, and we were just like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Another scene that really annoyed the shit out of me. He gets picked up by this secret army that has not let everybody know that they exist in front of his school.
Yep.
In a vehicle that's highly classified. I'm like, this is just a nerd boy's dream. Nerd boy's dream. That's all it is. All I have done with my life and all I have dreamed to do in my life is to play video games. So I'm going to sit in the dark room and play video games, and somehow or other I'm still going to get the girl and be the hero, and amazing how I managed to do all of this by just playing video games. I wanted to slap someone.
The thing with the school, they do actually explain that part, but apart
I don't care. I don't care.
It did
the thing is,
we can't tell anybody, but we'll go and pick you up, and it's be obvious it's from the game, and then everybody starts having conspiracy theories and isn't panicking.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing is, I was supposed to say something else, it's gone out of my head.
Oh, my ex-girlfriend's going to be so jealous of what is happening to me right now. I hope she's watching. Sorry, it might have made an impression. Anyway, I don't actually want to poo-poo on anybody else's enjoyment of the book, which is why I very deliberately didn't post anything about what I had experienced. I wanted everybody else to have their personal experiences with this book, and that's cool. Anybody who enjoyed it, I'm glad you did. That's awesome. But yeah. There will be a very nasty review coming up sometime soon.
I enjoyed it in the way that you enjoy a B movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think, and I think in all honesty, if I hadn't been listening to it with Nye, I probably would have finished it. I really probably would have finished it. I probably wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I would have finished it and just gone, yeah, whatever, sort of thing. But the fact that I had someone right there with me, having exactly the same feelings about it without us even consulting each other, we were just like one would say something and the other would be like, yes, oh my God. It just, that bounced off and amplified the feeling. So I recognize that that's part of what went on here, but at the same time, rage. Yeah. Anyway, plus you guys enjoy me doing rage.
But I agree, it was trying to be like they even make mention of it, like when he's like talking about how he doesn't know what he wants to do when he grows up, and they're like, oh, what about if you become a video game tester? And he's like, well, that's actually a really shit job. Yeah. Because you don't actually get to play the game, you just redo the same level over and over. Looking for bugs.
And so they invented an entire game for him, an entire reason for him to have justified all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I also was pissed off because I'm like, that's not all that video game testers do.
Yeah.
Like, people in QA and testing, they actually have to write code. They'll write code to, that annoyed me because I sat there going, you actually don't know what they do. That might be what they did 20 years ago. That's not what they do now.
Some do, though. I know some people who get paid to do that.
That's part of the job. That's not all that they do.
Oh, yeah. I do know someone who got paid just to literally play and was not involved in the development at all.
Yeah. They'll often get user testers in to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're a QA and tester, you will do things like that, but then you will also, you'll be writing the or taking the scenarios and writing, like, it's definitely part of it, but it's not all of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think if, like, I don't know if he says the word playtester, which is that role, which is the you just play.
Well, it's why they have beta releases, is that you want to get people
let everyone else do the work for you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's less of a common thing now than it used to be.
Yeah. I have some notes. Can I read you my rants?
It's fun to talk about the things that are bad.
I think it was like okay, so I highlighted this bit. So my father knowingly and willingly deceived and abandoned us. How could he have? Admiral Vance cut into my thoughts again. Try not to be angry at your father. He did it to protect you, to protect the world. And I ranted at this point. And this is in capital letters. I really hate these scenarios because this comes through in all the tropes and stuff. I'm so angry for his wife. Often feels this when people write this, it feels like it's written by someone who doesn't have kids or understands what a single parent has to go through. Like, that's the thing. I'm just like, do you have any idea what you left her to do? Like, asshole. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I know you're 19, but
it's also
60 times. You ain't coming back and getting 60 times.
It's also the whole idea that, it's this one person that has to do this thing that saves the world. I'm sorry, you're the one person who could be there and be a father to your child. You're not the one person who can save the world.
That's right. Exactly.
There were two other fuckers up there with him. None of them had, Jesus Christ.
And they didn't even seem to get why he was upset about not getting. Like, why couldn't they have gone, okay, we'll come up with a cover story where you get drafted into the normal military and now you're going to be a military dad and you come back from the moon every, month or so and you get a week with your wife and then you have to go back or something and you're not allowed to say anything.
Like real NASA people.
Yeah. And okay, that would be not easy either, but at least they're not, like they could have gotten around that. Like even if he was the only person that could, he's the best pilot in the world and they really needed him. So come up with a better cover story than killing him. Come up with a cover story where he's a fly in, fly out worker and, he spends most of his time, because does he need to be there? Like much time were they talking about how they were watching movies and playing video games and mucking around when they were on the moon?
Yeah.
Obviously there was some downtime when he could have been flown back to visit his wife and his child. It was annoying. It was just because they needed a plot twist for the fuck. That was what it was like, again, shoehorned in plot twist. Like that wasn't actually that much of a twist because you could see it coming a mile off.
Okay, this is the other thing, and maybe Matt, who's got a lot more sci-fi cred, and Kim as well than I kind of have. So this is the bit I don't get, is I got this bit about Meadows and Hid emerged from the cockpit and used one of its clawed hands to slap a large green button on the bulkhead. The safety bars around our decks retracted up into the ceilings and the doors opened with a hit. Leave your gear and follow me. And I wrote on this and said, why do they even need a pilot? This is the bit. Sorry,
that is a good point. Why do they need a pilot?
Why do they need a pilot? If they're just everything else is being piloted, from somewhere else for them to go to the moon, why do they need a pilot? I was sitting there going, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and the other bit that got me, and I guess I know it's a throwback to the sort of the machinist stuff and the mech stuff, is like why are all these robots like got hands and like have we learnt nothing? Like Interstellar was great in showing us that the best robots aren't necessarily humanoid style ones.
Yeah, like a mech type robot makes sense. Like in the Expanse series, I've been reading lots of those. They have these mech type robot things. They're not really
like
mech robots like that because they're more like a frame that you have. But the reasoning behind it is like you're lifting heavy things and you're manipulating, like it's the kind of thing that somebody who's doing construction would use because you need to pick things up and move it and they can bend metal bars and things like that. That makes sense. But if you're fighting off aliens, why do you need hands? Why don't you just have a bunch of guns?
Yeah, it's any time you have basically a humanoid type mech that's not doing something that is best served by having nimble fingers. You just essentially anthropomorphizing and trying to like go, imagine if you were this giant big robot, and wouldn't you be cool, and kind of thing.
It's a cool factor.
There's no real, there's no reason for it. In fact, it's a tactical disadvantage because there are much better, more efficient ways to have a weapons platform, for example, than a walking robot.
I think it's just harking to other references. Now, I didn't read this stuff, so I don't know for sure if he referenced it at all. But to me, it sounds like he's just referencing things like Voltron and stuff like that.
That was a Voltron.
Basically, any mech warrior anime there is plenty of.
Yeah. So to me, it sounds like he's just done it to make that reference. That's it.
Yeah. But also games like
it felt lazy, and to me, when I read the synopsis, like you've been playing video games and you realize it is being trained. I was like, this is cool. What it would be cool to make an intelligent modern take on this, and then it just wasn't. It's just like all the old tropes, and I'm like, it could have been like, well, what would it mean today? Like, what would it mean if you have robots, but they're not typical robots. They're still drones, but they're land drones. What does that mean? Servitude drones. Or I think it's interesting what you're saying about the hands thing, because they're what do you call it? The aliens are supposed to be like squid-like, and I'm like going, now that could be a great like an interesting robot. Would be one with lots of arms and really interesting,
like the squiddies on the Matrix.
Yeah.
Those
things freak me out.
Think through what it actually,
The interesting thing with that is it's how they get developed, and it's really easy for people to think in terms of how humans do stuff, because that's obviously super easy. But trying to imagine, okay, if I had 12 tentacly things that could do all kinds of different stuff, that's a lot harder to conceptualize and imagine how that might do something. And a computer would probably have a lot better idea than that, but that means handing it over to some sort of AI, for example, to go, right, come up with a better way to do this.
But that's what was happening in the book. The AIs were building all the bots and the drones. So anyway, I just thought it was strange. I was like, well, why have they got all these people serving them? Like, why did they need a pilot to go there in the first place? Like, why did they need a mech pilot? They didn't. Like, they should be able to remotely drive the ship. So I thought that was strange.
Yeah.
And then when they're there, there's all these kind of people making them food and everything like that, like mechanoid. And I'm like, that was very strange too. I don't know, it just all sort of seemed odd. And the other thing was like, with all the hooking up, if these guys have seriously been on there since they're 19, they've got no clue how to hook up. Think about it. Like,
they've been up there a long time.
They've got no idea, so.
Actually, hang on. The only two up there who did hook up, who'd been up there for ages, were the two guys who were together. Everyone else who got up there were new recruits.
Yeah,
so they'd been on Earth.
But the new
Well, was Milo and Shin, and Debbie and Graham. So Graham and Debbie hooked. So the one was up there, right. And Debbie. So it's two.
My bad.
Yeah.
Shin and Milo hooked up.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't even remember.
I couldn't remember. Even when it was happening, I was like, couldn't remember who was who. So
I need more alcohol, guys. I'll be back.
Okay. Do you need any more, Kirsten?
If you
I'm having
give me a little top up.
I might get.
If you're getting up to get more, I've still got some, but you can give me a top up if you're getting up anyway.
Ice cream. I might get ice cream. Should we take a quick break?
So let's take a 2-minute / however long it takes break for everyone to come back.
2 minutes /
I'm gonna say goodnight to Luna. I'll be back.
I'm gonna have to go to the YouTube video and watch the end of Mel's rant because the internet died on me and I missed the end of her rant. It took me like a minute to get back on, so she was well done.
All right, do that.
Matt was making a noise or something, so it was definitely over.
Hello.
Alcohol.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At least you got delivery service.
Nice. Oh, good, isn't it?
Nice, gone to bed already.
Oh, it's early. I've got to go to work tomorrow. I mean, not there, because I was like, yay, work, because now I have money, and that might help, because we're going to Adelaide soon, and I'll need spending money. It's like a whole day at supply teacher rates. I'm not complaining about that.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, I've still got to get up early tomorrow now. Yeah, man, I miss it.
Actually, this Moscato is really good.
Hello.
Matt, the Moscato is actually good.
Is it not too sweet?
I think because it's a rosé Moscato, it's actually well balanced.
Interesting.
But then again,
picked that from the variety.
But then again, I can drink a sweet wine.
I was going to say, your idea of not too sweet and my idea of not too sweet are
Probably
probably
vastly
not the
different.
same thing.
That is very true, and I'm happy to recognise that factor.
And I'm kind of weird with wine. I can do like the really like the stickies, you know, like the detritus dessert ones that you have the little tiny glass of when you have dessert. And I can do like the drier wines, but I kind of can't do the in between. Like like the sweet wine for me is like you have that as a dessert thing. I can't just drink it, and I can't just drink it with a meal.
Whereas my family actually like my mother and my sister and I all pretty much drink Moscatos. Like,
yeah, I love a lot of friends that's all they will drink is Moscato, and I'm like, and I take a sip and go, and that's what they do when they taste my wine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I won't touch red at all.
Oh.
So,
I'm becoming more of a red drinker than I used to be.
well, that's clearly because you don't like sweets. As I'm going along, like when I got these, I was like, sorry, I make that sound like I bought them. I stole them from work. So when I stole these from work, I was like, how's the rosé going to go? And I was like, I don't care. It's Armada. I need to get drunk.
Hang on, you stole them or you took home the less than $50 non-reportable gift?
If I take 2 of them and it adds up, oh no, it's still less than 50. That's fine.
That's all
I'm
right.
drunk. It's okay. I've had a glass and a half already. I'm so fine. Yeah, no, they would probably be worth about $4 each.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like it really actually matters because Nye keeps the fridge stocked. So.
Oh. Wow. I think it's good when we have like a 6-pack of beer in the fridge at work for a Friday afternoon, but having
we have Coke, Diet Coke, beer, 2 types of beer. We've got these 2 wines now, and then it's also stocked with still water and sparkling water.
Nice.
Meanwhile, I take it as a win when somebody hasn't stolen my UHT milk that I leave in there to make my cup of tea.
Well, for Nye, it was a thing that he did one year where he set a target, and he said if the company as a whole meets the target, he will commit to keeping the fridge stocked.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he did. They did, and he does.
Wow.
He's a good boss. What can I say? Especially considering he doesn't drink, so it's not like it benefits him in any way apart from the fact that he's got Diet Coke there. So they're all really responsible. They don't go crazy at it or anything.
Well, that's good. That's what I'd be worried about.
Well, to be fair, they deal with schools, so calling up schools and being a bit like, it really would not go down very well. So
yeah. I wasn't even thinking more going crazy on the wine and stuff. I was thinking more like, God, if you did that at my school, they'd go broke from the amount of like Diet Coke that the teachers were drinking.
Well, almost everybody drives to work, so they can't have that much because they've still got to drive home. So
yeah, but I'm not even talking about alcohol. I'm saying just the amount of money it would cost for just cans of Coke at my school, like not even alcohol.
We're a really small business.
Yeah.
We've got like about 10 people that work in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and yeah, most of them, like, actually the hardest thing for him to keep in stock is the sparkling water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I would drink all day if I don't bother at work because I just can't. Like at home, that's all I drink. I don't drink normal water at home. I just drink sparkling water because we've got the Soda Stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a few people at my work that have the little Soda Stream bottles and they bring their Soda Stream water to work to drink.
Yep.
But I haven't bothered to do that. But yeah, I don't really drink soft drink at all anymore. Like I had a couple. Mum gave us some like Bundaberg soft drinks.
No, I would be impressed.
She'd bought because her sister was coming to stay and her sister's partner doesn't drink, so she bought her some like nice different soft drinks, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know what Bev drinks. I'll just get her these."
Yeah.
And then Bev ended up buying her own soft drinks or something. So, Mum was like, "Well, you didn't want these," and I went, "Oh, all right." We've had like 2 of them, and it's been a month. Because I just don't.
I find the Bundaberg ones, apart from particular ones, a little bit too sweet, personally. So
they're quite nice. I had it. So
they're full of sugar. It's going to be sweet.
I had the sarsaparilla and the creaming soda because those are my favourite soft drinks.
I like the creaming soda.
Bundaberg sarsaparilla is the best. I've actually got for my Soda Stream, I bought a Bickford's bottle of sarsaparilla cordial, and it's actually really good because I've tried like a lemon lime bitters cordial before for the Soda Stream, like cordial and put it in the the carbonated water, and it was no good. It was gross. But yeah, Bickford sarsaparilla for the Soda Stream isn't too bad.
The problem with the Soda Stream, you put the syrupy stuff in, and you realise how much sugar is in soft drink because you realise how much of this sugar syrup you've got to put in to make it taste like soft drink, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I tried to convince Naya to get a Soda Stream because I was like, if they're going through the sparkling water so fast, just get a Soda Stream so you can make it as often as they like and stuff. But yeah, he's a bit anti-Soda Stream for whatever reason that I haven't been able to suss out yet. So whatever.
Well, you can buy like a different one. Like Foodland here has like Soda King, or is it just soda makers that he doesn't like?
I don't think it's the brand.
Okay.
Some people don't like Soda Stream because they're Israeli.
Oh no, it doesn't have that sort of problem.
I don't know where Soda King's from. I don't know if it's an Australian brand or something.
I do wonder about whether it is actually any cheaper though.
In the long term.
Yeah. I just find that we're having to buy the bottles a lot and like we have to replace all our plastic bottles soon, like in October or something, because they've got a use by date on the plastic bottles and
Jesus,
don't buy into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, they should really partner with Tupperware if they've got that kind of problem going on.
I think it's more like they're covering their asses for lawsuits. Like if you keep your bottle too long and it explodes, then it's your own fault.
Well, the thing is, I had a couple of bottles too old, or I think Dad put one of my Soda Stream bottles in the freezer. He was so in trouble. They do warp eventually. So eventually they will stop working because they won't make seal properly. But I think that's the only reason you really need to stop using them is because there's no seal anymore, and you'll be able to tell when there isn't.
Don't buy into it. It's part of it. Is I didn't talk. I actually wrote my script, but I didn't end up putting it in because it was going to make it too long. But it's yes, it's for them to cover their asses, and 2, it's part of their business model is that they want you to buy more bottles. So there's nothing actually wrong with the bottles. They just want you to buy new ones because you're not buy stuff.
Speaking of,
we're still using our ones from our first Soda Stream, and they're great. You know, stealing the and like as I said, try not to put the syrup into the bottle because that will help them.
I tried to tell Matt that, but he doesn't listen to me because he drinks out of the bottle, so he's not going to make it in a glass.
Should you mark some as his bottles and some as bottles?
I do have one that I keep reusing, so I try not to use other ones. There's always like 5 of them in the fridge, but only one of them ever has anything other than water in it.
Yeah, but the problem is when you've left like 4 of them on the sink that you've used and haven't washed out, and then you just get a new bottle from out of the fridge and put more Coke in that one. But anyway.
Domestic.
But anyway, I do think, like, 'cause we used to just buy the 80-cent Coles sparkling water, and I reckon it probably was cheaper. But I think that part of the reason why it was cheaper was because when I would buy like 4 bottles of that when I did my grocery shopping. When I ran out of sparkling water, and it was like, oh well, now I have to drink normal water.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Soda Stream, I just make another bottle and I probably drink a lot more than what I would have. So it's hard to compare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but the other thing and the main reason why I think it would be a good idea is because it's plastic bottles that are getting chucked away with Nye buying them.
Yeah.
And they go through them. I've seen them. I can't stand sparkling water personally. I'm like, why does your water, like your plain ordinary water, need a bubble? What does it do for you?
It tastes different. The carbon dioxide tastes
that's
different.
kind of what I don't like. I like the water to taste like
it gives it a more, I find it's like almost a little bitter.
Yeah.
Or like I find it's more refreshing.
Yeah, and look, I'm fine with it, Matt, like that being the thing. Like you guys do you, it works for you, that's important. But these guys at work, they go through them like mad.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like I would go through at least one Soda Stream bottle a day.
That reference doesn't mean much to me. I've never actually.
Well, they're like a liter.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like
the other thing
what in the world are these news stores in Queensland?
Sorry, what?
Like Gaily News.
I don't know.
News. I was just looking at this. They had Soda King in there because you can use Soda King instead of Soda Stream. If you've got a Soda Stream, you can just buy Soda King, and they're exactly the same. They fit in the Soda Stream. You can even use their gas canisters, so if it's cheaper, it's worth. But it's just saying, like, I was looking for the shops, and it's like made in New Central. Yeah.
The other day when I was
they have them there, do they?
They're
price
exactly
was
the same.
exactly the same price as the
Like to the cent.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we probably
enough then.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say.
We were having a break. That was why.
Yeah, no, I know, but everyone's back, so. Coolness back on time.
Yeah, I think we've all.
This episode of LDUH is brought to you by
Soda Stream, and to a lesser extent.
Clearly, you listened to John and Hanks did.
Yes, Hank and John.
Yeah.
Soda Stream, questionably valuable.
Yeah.
This hangout has been brought to you by Mel's Ranty Pants.
Mel's Ranty Pants. Everybody loves it when she brings them out.
But before we switch back to the book, you can actually buy like adapter kits and buy a bigger bottle of CO2.
I saw a video where a guy filled up his bottle with dry ice.
Oh, don't
No, that's stupid.
We are going to get back on thing now, but just quickly, I was going to say, actually, what I think your Nine's office needs,
yeah,
an adapter on the tap. You can actually get them.
So
we only have one kitchen tap though.
It sits next to it in the sink.
Oh.
So you know
So you can get like a splitter.
You can get ones that do sparkling as well. And it was
wow.
Okay.
Because when in one of my jobs before, they put a filtered water in alongside the normal one. And, they said you can get it with you can do it with a hot zip or whatever.
Yeah, that's what ours got at work. Is a filtered water, cold, and a boiling water.
Yeah, but you can actually get one that's sparkling as well.
Wow.
It's an option. So
there you go.
I think maybe look into that one because then, like you said, Mel, they'll go through them, but then are they going to fill them up? And you've got to and then you've got to change the canisters. And I can imagine Nine's like, oh, for God's sake, I'm not going to go to Kmart every week to do that. So that could be a thing to look into. So anyway, back to the studio.
Yes. Thanks for that report from on location there, Sarah.
Do you have any more notes in your little ranty book, Sarah?
Rant pants.
Right, yeah, bring out the Sarah's rant pants, so it's not just me.
No, I think that was my major. I thought it's not. I guess it's a. Let's see what other thing. I thought he left it open at the end for a sequel, and I'm just like, I really don't.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Please don't. Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was like, oh, you've left it opening, but please don't do it.
I think you should just start again. Like, it might be interesting, but I think you should just start again. Like, it might be interesting to have other characters in that setting post this book, but I think you should just start again.
Yeah.
I don't think you should continue this one.
And that was one thing I was going to say too that I liked about Ready Player One that this didn't have, and that was the world building. Like, I really liked the world building in Ready Player One. I loved the thing with the trailers all stacked on top of each other because they're running out of space and all of those sorts of ideas that it was world building. Whereas this was like, it was like you went, I can't be bothered world building. I'll just set it in our world and I won't change anything. I won't give any backstory. Like, it felt lazy.
I felt like it was it was more like this was his first novel instead of Ready Player One.
Yeah. It was
Nice.
like a fan fiction or something. Like,
Can I just interrupt? Does that look good with the buttons?
it does, very nice.
Good. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean that very sincerely.
I agree. Like, that was actually something I kept thinking in some weird way. I kept going, is this the same author? Like, in a weird way, like either felt like a first novel or like someone who was like a fan and was trying something in a style. But, you know, there was so much more finesse. Like, I remember so much stuff about Ready Player One that I really loved. Like, I really loved how the guy who had the video game, and he kind of was doing this weird dance kind of thing. I always remember that scene, like he was talking about stuff and he was doing that weird, like he couldn't dance. So, do you guys remember that scene?
Yes.
The guys, yeah. And
I haven't.
the trailers, the world building was so good, and I was much more invested in the characters and their and in this, I don't know. And and my another ranty bit was it felt like there needed to be an editor on this, and there wasn't. It just felt needed to be cut out. Like, actually, the whole Lex thing was completely unnecessary.
Yep.
She was very tropish.
And they did nothing to advance the story other than, hey, I can hack your thing.
Shit.
Yeah.
And the first part too, I felt was like, oh God, I can see where you're going with this. Just get to the point. Like, I was like, I know what's going to happen here. Like, and it was like he was trying to do the world building and the backstory, but I was just like, ugh. I don't need you to describe for so long. Like, that was like a whole chapter almost. It probably isn't a whole chapter, but in my brain it was a whole chapter where it described him playing some other video game that wasn't like playing the video game, but it wasn't. It was just a video game, and I'm like, okay, is this written for somebody different to me? Because I don't care that much about video games, but I'm like, I get it. He's playing the video game. Can we get move along?
Like, spending time, like, actually, that was one of my big issues with it, is that we seem to spend an inordinate amount of time with people or situations at the beginning that really didn't make much of a difference in the long run. Like, we spent a lot of time with the guy in the shop, and I felt like that should have been more of an impactful relationship. Like, in fact, that could have been like, get rid of the father.
I thought that was going to turn out to be his father.
Yeah, or that's just like, there's a person who lied to you, now you got to follow inside them, and you know.
And
like,
what about the kid? The kid that he had the big fight with that was the bully, and he stood up to the other bully. And I'm like, this bully is going to turn out to be one of the other recruits, and he's going to have some kind of conflict with him because he's another recruit, or he's going to show up later in the story as being some other significant, you know, like, why did the author spend so much time and about making this whole story about this bully, and then have him not show up ever again in the book, and have him not be? It's not even like
briefly, and
he did show up right at the end.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of it. Like, it was just
no. There was no satisfying.
There was no reason to have him in the story,
other than just to go like, oh look, he's been through some shit and he's come out okay now.
Yeah.
And like the anger management thing he talked about, where he's beating him senseless and all this kind of stuff, and it got referred to a bit, but it made no difference in the long run. I'm like, well, why did we go into it?
Yeah.
So as a whole, guys, do you think this is a book that suffers from the fact that he had a massive success with his first one and hasn't been properly edited?
Yes.
I also feel like it was maybe publishers. I don't know whether this is actually something that happened, but I get the feeling it's like publishers are like, yeah, you need to come out with something else like that because this sold really well. and it's almost like he's gone, okay, and it's been forced. He's trying to force the same thing to happen twice instead of having a brilliant idea and going, oh, I had this brilliant idea, I'm going to write about it. Now it's like, okay, now I have to write something similar because that's what my audience expects and my publisher wants, and I'll do it even though I'm trying to think of an analogy for it, but I'm not coming up.
I mean, it's a difficult second album.
Yeah.
I actually wonder if he had this sitting in.
Oh yeah.
And he went.
Where did it? Yeah.
And because it feels like you said, like it feels like first novel, whereas the second one feels like he took a lot of the ideas. Maybe like if you think about it in role reversal, right? If he had Armada as a first thing and he built on Ready Player One, Ready Player One builds on all the issues we've had and just, like it has world building. This one didn't. It really keeps the tropes very, pointed. This one didn't. It fleshed out characters and the dialogue was better. This one didn't. Almost like it was like Armada was the first novel, then he built on Ready, and then he maybe put it down for a while, did Ready Player One, and got that, and then he was like, oh, I need to come out with something. Let me just get this old dusty thing out. It felt more like that. It felt like,
might have been like the unpublished thing that was never got picked up, and then suddenly it's like, hey, or maybe that was part of the publishing deal. It's like, I've done this one, but I also got this other one. I'd really like to publish that too.
Yeah.
I was looking up Goodreads to see what rating it had, and I was actually slightly surprised to see it was 3.48, which is higher.
That's fairly
than
low
I was
for
expecting it to be.
That's fairly low for
kind of low.
Goodreads, though.
It's about
Goodreads is usually quite. Like people don't go on there and rate it unless they like it or they hate it.
Because scrolling through the reviews, it's like 1 star, 2 star, 1 star, 2 star, 2 star. And I guess somewhere in the line there's been some higher reviews, but
I reckon that what it is that it's the reviews that have been written are the low ratings, and they're the ones that get the likes from others, because that's what pushes people up on those lists.
Yeah.
When they get likes and things.
Right.
And so it's had low reviews from the people who do actual detailed reviews, but then the general readers have been giving it star ratings, and I don't think they rate the way we do. Like for me, a 5-star is extremely rare. Even a book I like and I come on here and I'm like, gosh, guys, this is amazing, I will give it 4 stars. I don't only give 5 stars if it's got the X factor to me. And
for me, a 5-star book is one that I can't stop thinking about when I'm not reading. But I think I'm actually a really lenient marker. Like I've given a lot of 3 stars that I've kind of been like, like that's what 3 stars means to me. Whereas to a lot of people, 3 stars means good, and 2 stars means Whereas for me, 2 stars is like I really hated it, or or not I hated it, I really didn't like it. 1 star is like I want this book to die in a fire.
Speaking of
whereas, like for me, a 3-star is actually quite like see, I don't feel like that about this. I was like, it just feels like it was clunky. And it feels like it was badly executed. It's not like I don't hate it like I hate Wuthering Heights. Like, and even things like 50 Shades of Grey, I've given fairly not that bad ratings to, because I was like, well, I kind of enjoyed bits of it. And I laughed at how bad the writing was, but then I liked other bits of it. And it was like, I'm a very lenient marker.
The thing that made it hard for me is that there's enough things in there that were half well done enough for me that I didn't completely hate it, but not well enough that I could go, I really love it. And I think I could see the potential where it could have gone, but didn't. And it's like, I guess I have to be right in the middle then.
I so wish Goodreads would do a 10-point review rather than 5-star, because I always, or like at least let you do halves, because there's so much nuance in between the ratings I want to give and what I can give with 5 compared to 10.
Whereas I quite often have, like, I would probably say 90% of the 4-star books that I've got on my Goodreads are 3.5-star books in my mind, but I've gone, well, I'll be nice and round up instead of rounding down.
And I find I'm biased with that
too. So many 4-star reviews on because I have a lot of 4-star reviews on my Goodreads, because a lot of them are 3.5 stars and they don't let me do 3.5.
I find I'm biased with that too. Like something I want to give 3.5 stars. If it's a SFF book, I'm more likely to up it to 4, and if it's a romance, I'm more likely to down it to 3.
That's interesting. I don't know whether if I do that, I don't do it consciously, but that doesn't mean that I don't do it.
I just noticed that I started noticing that I very rarely gave a romance book, like pure romance book, more than a 3. And I started realizing it wasn't, and I was like, is it because I'm not enjoying it? What is it? Like, why am I only giving them so ratings? And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, it's because I don't want people to think that I rank, it's because I don't rank a romance in its literary value as high.
You see, I don't consider literary value at all.
The thing is, it often isn't though. It's like, it's fun. Yeah. It's titillating.
Yeah. I know. And that's the thing. That's where I know that I'm incorrect in doing it, because it's got nothing to do with my literary value in general, in terms of when I'm voting, in terms of when I'm rating normally. But when I do it with a romance, it becomes a literary value thing. With anything else, I had fun. It was good. I enjoyed myself. 4 stars. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I really, and that's probably why I've rated some really bad books quite highly. Like I have to rate them as how I read them at the time. Like I don't know, I'd be embarrassed to look back and see how I rated Twilight, because I friggin' loved that book when I read it. And I look back on it and go, oh God, yeah, I know. I look back on it and go, oh God, what was I thinking?
But it's sometimes
at the time, I could not put
there
that
must be something in it. Yeah. I've never read it.
I read them all.
I
ended up reading them all.
I could not put it down when I first read that book. But I had not read a lot in that genre, and like, I'm making excuses for myself, but like, I think I also came at it from, like, I think you have to hit a book at the right time. You know, like, I was ready to read something fun and kind of YA romantic and easy to read at that point in life. Obviously,
I've never read it, but I understood that it was actually well written.
I wouldn't call it well written.
Well, it's no 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I've heard nothing but disparaging comments about
50 Shades of Grey is terribly
yeah, it's terribly written. But I've heard Stephanie Meyer is not a bad writer. Like, it's a genre, and that's, but it's not,
A lot of the criticisms that come into Stephanie Meyer, I think, is no different than the criticisms that J.K. Rowling get. It's just that people don't value the book as much, and that's all. And then so they decide to criticize the writing when there's nothing wrong with the writing. Yeah. It's they don't like the concept or the premise or the market or whatever it is.
I think the thing that I look back on and go, oh God, I probably forgave that a lot more than I should have when I read it, was the main characters, and like how stalkery Edward was, and how how much of a terrible female character that Bella is and all that. But at the time, I think I just kind of read it as loved as a teenager. Like, I was reading Flowers in the Attic and shit like that when I was a teenager, and that's terrible as well. And at least Edward wasn't her fucking brother. Like.
But I think the thing is too is to recognise that, especially I think through this book club, but as a whole, I think we've all grown as readers too, and we've grown to recognise things that we previously wouldn't have. Like, I reckon if I'd read Armada 10 years ago, I would have thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. And I think too, it depends on the mood you're in as well. Like, like sometimes I'm just really in the mood for something easy and fun, and that I don't have to think about a lot. And sometimes I'm in the mood for something that's more deep and more interesting, like more world building and
because that's how I felt about Full on the Hill. Like, I loved that book 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was also Matt Ruff's first book, and he says himself, he reads it, but he gets embarrassed by it. But then he goes, look, it was my first book, and I've read a lot of his stuff since then, and he's just gotten better and better as a writer. And his world building's gotten better, his characterizations have gotten better. So it was actually really interesting for me to read that again, because I had loved it so much, as a 19, 20-year-old, and read it like every summer for like 3 years, to revisit it like 20 years on. And I think Mel's right. Like, I've kind of, my expectations have grown because I've, my tastes have grown, and what I consume has grown. But I still stand by that. I think it's a fantastic first novel, but it's also of its time. Like it's such a 90s novel, and it's so much in it that it kind of, I read and I go, oh, I kind of wish he tackled this slightly differently, or but he actually himself admits that. So yeah, I think there's truth to it. Like back then, I would have said it was because I still do, and this is the interesting thing. There are things in that novel I still think about. There's scenes in there that I still just haunt me. In a good way, not haunt me, but they stay with me. Yeah, that's
what makes a 5-star book. And I've gone back and changed books. Like I think it was the Liza Lachlan-Mora. I gave 4 stars when I first read it, and then I was like, a few weeks later, I was like, I'm still thinking about this book.
Yeah,
I need to go back and give it 5 stars because I just and I'm still saying to people, oh my God, you need to read this book. This is so great.
And I think the thing for me too is that
reading quotes from it, and I'm like, okay, you probably should go back and put 5 stars on it if you're going and reading quotes just for the fun of reading them.
Something I've really started to recognise with myself too is that when I give a book 5 stars, it does not in any way mean that book is anywhere near perfect.
No, and it doesn't mean that it's necessarily literarily and that's what I don't. That's what I like about this book club too, because we don't really. Like we sort of talk about the writing, but we don't go into this whole thing of we're being literary critics and we're writing a critique of the writing. And I did a couple of book clubs that I only sort of turned up to I think I only turned up to one thing of it that was at the bookshop up the road from us that does not exist anymore. And I was like, I felt really intimidated in the group, and I felt like all they were doing was picking apart the writing of the book and not, it was all about literary merit instead of did I actually enjoy it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Did you enjoy it? What the subject matter? I'm less care about how literally meritable it is than I do about how I felt about it and the subject matter, and how it was structured, really.
Because movies are the same, right? There's movies you're in the mood for.
And that's what I said with this. Yeah, it's a B movie book.
Well, I would say this actually makes a better movie than a novel.
But it already has been, and that's the other thing that's annoying. It already has been made into a movie. It's been made into several movies. It's been made into The Last Starfighter and Galaxy Quest and stuff like that.
Ready Player One in some respects.
And they do say, they actually, he admits as he's writing it that he's basically copied the plot from several old movies. And,
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you could sort of argue that it's like he's watched these movies and gone, I'm going to write a book out of that. And then base it on the mysterious aliens doing exactly the same thing.
You know what? What else it made me think of?
Their stuff.
It's true. It's very true, Matt.
Did you guys see the most recent Guardians of the Galaxy? I know Matt did.
Yeah.
And they had the same thing with the people playing those video game style things that were the drones,
the remote control fighter planes.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's the same thing. And
isn't it funny that no one in sci-fi really before humans, like real humans, came up with unmanned remote controlled vehicles. They didn't feature inside. Just no one had made that leap particularly. It wasn't something that entered into that kind of consciousness of sci-fi fantasy. Is always
which is really strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
But isn't that
radio controlled was a thing.
But isn't that what's in Ready Player One?
Sorry,
I can't remember.
Isn't that what's in Ready Player One? Not Ready Player One. Sorry. Ender's Game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's one novel. You look at the greater popular thing. Star Wars. It's all people jumping into it's a World War II movie. It's people jumping into the cockpits of their fighters and going for fight.
Yeah.
Star Trek is the same. It's a bunch of people on a big starship going out and exploring the galaxy.
Well, but I think that's the big difference between something which wants to be SF for entertainment value and something that wants to be SF to explore a concept.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the other thing that annoyed me about this book was the whole thing of they were like just talking to each other without any light, like without any lag. And then they went, oh, yeah, we've got this workaround for that. I'm like, yeah, you've just got this convenient thing that the alien technology now allows you to have instantaneous communication from here to Europa or wherever it was. Was it Europa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instantaneous communication that just completely ignores the what we already know of. You know, like that. They didn't explain how
it had that
around
very
the speed of light issue.
I can't remember
Well,
what you call it. When things are just convenient. What's that called?
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina.
Thank you, Deus Ex Machina.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I said about the
very
ending
convenient.
too.
Yeah,
Very convenient.
And having come off reading the Expanse series, Kirsten, you were probably more bothered by it because they really try to take those things.
Oh God, like one of the most recent ones that I listened to, and they're like, we won't even hear back for 2 years about this thing because by the time they do this, and then that comes back to like they're trying to I think one of the ones you've read, and
spoilers.
they're like, it's not a spoiler. It's one character is talking from I think they're out in the sort of Jupiter, like in Europa or Ganymede or one of those moons, right? So exact same spot. And they're like, and they're complaining about how they have got to communicate with Earth and they've got to wait like 8 hours between the message they send is not going to get heard by anybody until 8 hours. Because it's and then they've got to wait. And it's like, and it actually makes a lot of sense, and it makes the plot really interesting because you've got that whole thing of, okay, these characters know what's happening and something has happened here, but these guys can't find out about it until later, and it's interesting. Whereas this, it was just like, oh, we've magically worked around this problem of like, you're trying to fly this thing in real time that's on another side of, because right at the beginning where he's doing that mission where they were trying to destroy the thing that was on Europa
with the icebreaker,
and it's like, and he's just flying this thing and fighting in real time with these other drones that are like this far away from, and that had happened before they explained their workaround, and I'm going, well, how is that even possible? There would be lag. There's lag when I talk to you guys,
So how do you feel then about things like Star Trek, where they also have faster than light instantaneous communication?
They also have faster than light travel.
Yeah.
So I kind of go, well,
that's fair enough.
It's
they've
kind
got
of
that.
the universe that this technology exists, whereas in this it felt like.
So it wasn't the fact that the technology existed, but how the technology.
It felt like the technology wasn't explained, and that it was just
convenient that they had
very
convenient stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of the book, we know that why it's convenient, but it's still convenient. It's still too convenient to have what they have.
Yeah.
It's like they explain why it's so convenient. It's because they let them get the technology, but it's just so convenient.
And that's the other thing too, that I was like, okay, so they can have instantaneous communication without any lag, despite the speed of light being a thing. Yet they have this thing where you have to be inside this particular zone for the disruptor to work, and that didn't make sense. Like
also,
it's like, okay,
it's a massive plot hole because the disruption field only exists around the planet or whatever. So you just put one of these quantum communication satellites halfway between you and
stick one out,
and it works
disruptor
again.
means nothing anymore.
Yeah. It was just, I found it was, I know exactly what Kirsten's talking about. It annoyed me too. I was just like, and I just ended up, I think I actually skimmed large chunks of that kind of stuff because this is like, this is just.
Why didn't they just they obviously have the technology. They could just go put one on Mars and then have that as a backup if they knew it was going to be destroyed.
Don't even put them on a planet. Because that's an easy target. Shoot a bunch of them off into space. Space is really big.
And that's in space, it might be a bit easier to see.
Yeah. That's another thing in The Expanse. Like, they really show you, and it's called The Expanse on the TV show because, it does really show you how big this is, only set in our solar system, and this is how big space is. And there's this bit that I've just read in the most recent book where these characters have gone, let's fire this thing, instead of keeping this thing that the other people want to take off us on this place where we are. I'm trying to say it without spoiling anything.
Thank you.
Let's just fire it off into space and put like, we know that it's vectors, so we can calculate where it's going because it's going in space. It's not going to change direction unless.
As long as you know where you are and when you fight it.
We know it's vectors and nobody else does. No one's going to find it because it's in the middle of nowhere, and they won't be able to find it. Whereas, so they could do this with these satellites. They could just put a bunch of them out in the middle of space.
Yeah.
We know where they are because we calculated where they went, but the aliens aren't going to be able to track them down easily and get them because space is really big.
And you can put them God knows how far away and they still work because they still work. You fire it out and keep it going.
Yeah.
They were controlling their ship from Europa, so it's not like you had to have it just outside our orbit of like the moon or something.
No, well, it was
you could just throw them anywhere.
Quantum entanglement, so distance is irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Shoot it in the opposite direction from Jupiter at the time, and
have a bunch of anyway, the more you talk about it, the more you get annoyed.
Sorry, I think Sarah's going to do another roving report on location somewhere.
When we were talking about reading and how like we rate things and stuff, I thought of something and I forgot to say it. But
I have to go, guys, so I'll see you guys later.
Oh,
okay. See you later. Nice to see you.
Sorry, I'm talking too much, but
no, you're not.
As a reader, I am a character-driven reader. I read for the characters. I cannot overlook a whole, but like if I loved the characters in this book, all the shit that I've been bitching about, I would have overlooked and not cared about because I would have been reading it for the characters. And for this book, I just did not care about the characters, and that was the biggest flaw for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I can overlook a whole bunch of errors in what I mean. You look at the Robin Hobb books that I know Mel's not a huge fan of. And a lot of people I've read that don't like them have gone, they're so slow and nothing's happening. There's like half a book and nothing has happened. And I'm like, I don't care because I'm spending time with this character that I love. And if you don't like the character, then you're not going to like it. But
I agree with you there because I had similar feelings about the Pern series, whereas I know a lot of people have complaints about that series and things that happened in it and stuff. But for me, all I loved was I just got to be in that world and I got to be around the characters and stuff. So
like I haven't read my last Robin Hobb book yet because I don't want to say goodbye to these characters. I know she's not writing anymore.
I have that problem.
I'm just going to put off reading it because then I've got it to look forward to, and once I read it, then I have to say goodbye to them, and I don't have time to reread everything because there's like 9 books and they're long.
She might read more. I mean, she did again, didn't she?
I know, but like she's gonna kill one of them at the end. I know she's going to.
Oh,
you don't want them to go.
That's not a spoiler because I don't actually know. But
you expect it,
I can just see it coming that she's going to kill either Fitz or the Fool, and I'm like, or both of them. And like Fitz is getting pretty old in this last book.
Well, the Fool must be too, because wasn't the Fool older than Fitz?
Yeah,
Fool doesn't age the same.
He doesn't really age.
He's a bit weird. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I don't know enough about it. Clearly,
I've only read the first one, but I get the Fool is a little bit supernatural, possibly.
He's kind of a different race.
Different race, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say supernatural.
Well, that sort of thing. Different race, like supernatural is in sort of X-Y supernatural.
Kind of in the same way that elves are different to people, I guess. Like to men,
So we're probably getting towards the end of talking about the book, probably.
Yeah.
I was looking at I did a quick search for I wonder if there's any interesting reading question, book discussion type things, and there's not really. But I did see this thing about on Reddit is the official book club. They've got a book club thing about different books, and Armada's on here. I'm just scrolling through it, and it's looking at what the.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing. I just clicked on Facebook and saw Naomi's thing saying, "You guys know that you're still alive."
Yeah, we know.
We're back talking about the book, so it's okay. The top one is I can't recommend Armada to anyone. What's another one here?
I had a similar sort of experience in reading the Goodreads reviews, and I was just like, yep, agree with that point. Yep. Okay.
Here's another one. Can't recommend this book to anyone. He already filled an entire book with those references in Ready Player One, so time to cut back on them.
The thing is I think that might be his trick.
Yeah, I'm so let down. He brings up all these tropes and concepts and just rehashes all of them. What's the point? Just started reading it and I'm immediately disappointed. So everyone is pretty much having the same experience that we seem to have.
I guess it's that sort of, first time lucky thing. Yeah. Whereas he may come back from it, but
let's see what book 3
second one. Like. The second one's not so good, but that doesn't mean his third one won't be good.
No. The only
I must admit, though, I'll be letting you guys read it first.
I only had one other thing I was going to say, and then I have nothing else to say, really. Did anyone else remember that one of the guy's call signs is Kvoth?
Yes, Kvoth is one of the call signs. Yeah. Which guy was that? Was that one of
that was one of his mates.
One of the mics.
One of the mics is Kvoth. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Kvoth.
Oh, book
How
reference.
Many people would actually get that? But then I recognized, I did skim through the dedication at the end. And he actually says there's heaps of people like Patrick Rothfuss. We thanks like Steven Spielberg and James Cameron and George Lucas, but then like people he actually knows like Patrick Rothfuss and Felicia Day and all those sort of people in that. Will Wheaton, obviously. I'm like, that makes sense now. Both. Yeah. That's why he's got the phone. Yeah. I don't think there'd be too many people who'd get that reference just yet.
And I think
if they were, they'd be reading this book.
I think that little moments like that were the things that I liked, and I was like,
they were too
you ruined it by doing too many references, that the ones that were there lost their impact and lost their little bit of, that was cool. There was a few references that I was like, I liked that. And I can't think of what they all were. Because
I listened to a few chapters on audiobook, and the bits where it had Kvoth was actually when I was listening to Will Wheaton. So at first I'm like, did he just say what I thought he said? Did he just say Kvoth? And I didn't actually see it in writing, but then he said it maybe 2 or 3 times throughout those chapters. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Kvoth. I think that's an awesome call sign. Like, I don't think there'd be that many people who get that. But I think they're more likely to be
what the Venn
people
diagram
who would read Ernest Cline would read Patrick
Rothfuss.
And, there'd be more crossover than you'd think, but I don't think that many people like. There's not always that sort of crossover between fantasy and sci-fi, but I think there'd be more common than other.
I think the
sort
thing
of crossovers in genres.
Kirsten, referencing the fact that you you would have liked more references like that. I think that's what he was trying to do. It's just that he was trying to hit that everybody got a few. And
no, it wasn't. It was little moments rather than like, because that was the kind of reference that I liked. This kid, his call sign is Kvoth. Obviously, he's a fan of that book. They don't go, oh, you chose that call sign because of the book The Name of the Wind, and spell it out for you.
Right.
You know, just left. Like, if you don't get it, you don't get it.
And it needed to be fewer and further between. Yeah. Like, there needed to be less of them to make the ones that were there more interesting.
Yeah. They're the ones that I enjoyed the most, the ones where he didn't explain it. So if it went over my head, it just went over my head and I didn't really notice.
Yes.
So for 1 or 2 where I went, that has to be a quote from something. But a lot of them I got because I'd watched that science fiction movie or that fantasy movie.
The one that annoyed me
was
the one from Aliens where I think it was someone had a tattoo of a quote from Vasquez in Aliens, which I totally did not get. Yeah, I didn't get it. I love Aliens. I don't remember that line at all well enough to remember that it was a reference, but I actually felt let down that he explained it.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if he didn't explain it. That way those people can sort of get it. That inside something makes you feel.
Or I could then go and look it up myself and go, oh, that's a cool reference.
Yeah. Live in the age of the internet. You don't need to explain things.
Yeah.
I like the top review that comes up on Goodreads as well. It's saying a lot of things that I agree with. Boring characters.
Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina all over the place.
Yep.
Anticlimaxes. oversaturation of pop culture references.
Yeah. Sorry, I did think of
Bad
one more thing I
editing.
wanted to. Yeah, bad editing.
Yeah, it's like the same things that we've been saying.
Yeah.
Someone could have edited that, and it could have been a whole lot better. But whether it was like whoever his editor was, well, did he have an editor? Is the first question.
I think he did.
Was the editor like a yes person?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the editor went way too easy on it. We should have been a little bit harder on this.
That's fine. That's a great. We'll keep that in.
I think they were just desperate for him to publish another book, because it has been quite a few years since Ready Player One, and they were just so desperate for him to publish another book.
Please strike while the iron is slightly lukewarm.
And so the money factor went into play, and
that's what I think. The editor was being. It feels like the editor and the publishers were being too soft because they wanted to get it out. They wanted another book from him when they really should have been harder on him about it, and it probably could have been improved quite drastically.
Yeah,
if they were a little bit harder on him.
Yeah. I think that my thing though is I think they needed to be a lot harder on him, because the tropiness of it all and everything really required some serious editing.
I mean, they can still have some tropes not bad, but it had needed to be a lot less.
A lot less, yes. I'm okay with some tropes, definitely. And I think, and in all honesty, I don't think that it necessarily would have improved the book to a like for me.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't written for me. It was not my book. In fact, the only reason I enjoyed Ready Player One was because it actually had a really engaging storyline. All of the pop references don't do much for me. There's not much in them that actually does much for me at all. But what this one was lacking was a good plot with a little less trope.
And I also wonder if characters was too rushed on it. Like when you write your first book, obviously the first book you put out takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. Maybe it's possible that he was very pressed to get this out, that people were like calling him to get another book written so they could capitalize really on his fame from the first one, and that it really just didn't have the effort and the love put into it that he really put into his first one.
I personally think that he just didn't,
he tried, but
I just don't think he actually had a good concept for his second one. I think in all honesty, I think
he was trying to pad it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was it was probably something that he even had as an idea beforehand. He tried to pad it out into something because they were so desperate to publish something from him, and he was probably desperate to publish too. And it just wasn't a good concept.
Every essay that I've ever got bad marks on has been one where I've had trouble hitting the word limit. And most of the ones that I've done well on, I've had to edit it down to get under the word limit. And the ones that I've really been struggling to hit the word limit have been the ones that I've ended up with a bad mark for. So I feel like it's kind of like that. Like he's gone, this concept isn't great, but I'll pad it out with some extra references and some shitty dialogue, and it'll make it more.
God, the dialogue.
It's probably done the best he can, but he's done the best he can.
Or it's a too simple concept. Like it's a concept that works well for an hour and a half long movie. When you're trying to write a novel about it, it's like it would have been probably good as a novella. He could have pared it down a lot. It would have made an interesting novella, but he's tried to stretch it out to be a novel.
Yeah. And you know what? If it gets made into a movie, someone else is probably going to do the screenplay and just make things maybe a little better.
I think
maybe it'll be,
as an adaptation, it probably would be a very good story.
Directed by Michael Bay.
So there's a lot of things based on is it greenlighted, or get movie contracts and then they never actually end up being made. Yeah, greenlit, but they never actually end up being there.
I must admit,
they realised maybe we shouldn't have been like this. Maybe it's not as good as we thought it should be.
I must admit, I'm a bit worried that he might be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, I get that impression too.
I'm just erring on the side of optimism that maybe he just got too much praise or got too pushed to make the second novel, and that's why it's ended up being not that great. I wouldn't say it's bad, but not great. And I think that maybe, or I'm hoping that may be why because he's just been pushed. He's, you know, gotten so much praise for the first one that everyone's pushed him to write this second one, and his publishers or editor are probably pushing him. Like, it's what I expect is that they're pushing him too much to get it out within a certain time limit, and maybe that's why it's not.
I hope that's the case. It's not that I want him to fail.
Yeah. On the side of optimism, I hope that's why.
Yeah,
and that he'll actually, you know, everything will calm down and he can write another novel that will, you know, rival his first one.
I think in the end, though, he needs to move past this whole tropey using references for pop references thing, or he needs to distinguish himself differently than that for his next one, or otherwise he's just going to be stuck in a total rut. Because the fact of the matter is that as much as it was really fun, in the end, it was still, Ready Player One was still kind of an 80s plot with some new concepts behind it. That was all it really was. And it was fun and it was enjoyable, but you can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
Ernest Cline says, challenge accepted.
Good.
But it's like, you got to sort of take it. He probably hasn't taken like Patrick Rothfuss has, where he's like, it'll get out when it gets out. I'm not putting out a crap product. It's like people whinge and whinge and whinge at him that he hasn't got it out in time. He hasn't got it. You know, he's a first-time author, right? You know, no one meets their deadlines, right? And people don't get it, and they whinge and they bitch and they.
And how much are they going to bitch
I'm happy to wait. Yeah,
I'm happy to wait too, because if he pushes it out and the third book is crap, imagine the shit that he's going to get.
Yeah. Well,
don't get me started on my frustration.
I've seen so much, reading the Slow Regard of Silent Things, seeing people whinge and bitch about that book because they're also whinging and bitching that. I love it. And they're all, but anyone who seems to, like, the reviews that I read that whinge and bitch that they didn't like that book, whinged and bitched that
why did you write this?
He didn't have that. Yeah, why did you write this instead? Why didn't you finish the other one? This isn't what your other ones are like. Blah blah. You put the warning in front, but I still didn't like it. Oh, for God's sake, that you probably didn't like it if you didn't like the same thing. He did warn you that it may not be for you, and then you whinge it. It's fine to win. It's fine to say you didn't like it, but people just whinged about it.
Yeah, well, and like I said,
they didn't just say it wasn't for me, I didn't like it, I didn't like this, or I didn't like that. They didn't analyze it and say why it wasn't enjoyable for them. They just whinged about it.
And they were like, I think you shouldn't have written this book because you should have been writing the one I want to read more. And it's like, well,
that's not what I do.
What's funny about it is he'd practically finished that one. It was just all the editing and revisions because it's probably a huge book. He pretty much finished writing it. This is like he wrote in between, or, you know, during those quiet periods where he had to think about this other one, or while he was waiting for the editor to go through that book, he wrote this other one.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, and this one's going to be a bit on the negative side, but if Ernest Cline is a one-trick pony, then what he's doing here is basically just making what money he can off the fame of Ready Player One. And in all honesty, I have no problem with that, dude. If you've had a successful book and you don't feel like you can write another one that's as successful, but you want to make some money because make some money, do it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Give me your best shot. Cool. The only other, I did actually think of one more thing. Oh, hello. Have I frozen?
No, you're still there.
It's just like super quiet, like not a sound. And I'm like,
I think a lot of the thumbnails have frozen as well. Like, I don't see the thumbnails move much, but I see you guys when you come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Was just, I'm still unsure how I feel about having the real world scientists be there in the little advisory council thing. And I understand that they all gave permission to be in the book, but I'm just like, I can't imagine Neil deGrasse Tyson being on that kind of a thing.
I'm sorry, Neil deGrasse Tyson's role is to be a voice
science communicator.
Yeah. He's not a scientist like hardcore doing research kind of stuff.
No. Yes, he's got a degree, but that's not really.
That lends him credibility. That doesn't.
That's right.
Yeah. But it was kind of nice having those names that you associated, but yeah. didn't necessarily have to be there. It was kind of nice to have Neil deGrasse. It's like I don't recognize that many scientists' names, so it's kind of nice to have, you know, Stephen Hawking's Neil deGrasse in it. But it wasn't necessary, but it was kind of cute. It was fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was fun.
It was, but it also felt kind of like name dropping as well to me. Like it's like, oh, these guys are just here so they can be here. Just, you know, like. I don't know. I'm being very harsh, and I didn't hate the book, and I didn't go, oh, look, I don't want to read it anymore. I was just it was just like, you know,
yeah.
There's plenty of books that I've wanted to chuck at a wall and not finish reading, and this wasn't one of them, but
I did.
Yeah. Virtually, it was an audio book. So.
Yeah, I didn't actually do it, but I did.
You pressed the stop button.
Yeah, I violently pressed that stop button. And I haven't done it yet, guys. I'm doing the ceremonial deleting it from my phone.
And gone.
Actually, I probably should do that. My phone. I never have enough space on my phone.
I haven't deleted any of the books. That could be a good idea.
Yeah.
I haven't because now
I've got a copy of the audiobook on here. I should delete that. Yeah.
So I like on my old phone.
My book app actually my digital book app actually syncs it between that and my tablet, so I love that, and you can actually just leave it on there.
That's nice.
My old phone, I had to tell it, like, set it to delete text messages after 2 weeks because I couldn't even fit all my text messages on my phone.
Oh, goodness.
You know what? I should probably delete text messages because I don't think I've done it in 10 years.
Oh.
I think I've just continually exported things that I probably have things from 10 or possibly more years old on.
You can set it to delete anything that's older than a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Then again, text messages aren't that big, so
all I did was last time I got a new phone, I just set it up from scratch because I was like, I want to get rid of all of the hidden data.
Yeah, see, I had a lot of like photo messages in my text messages, and they take, like, I was looking for space on my phone, and you know how you can kind of look and it'll break down what and I'm like, how come so much space is being taken up by text messages? And I'm looking back and it's like all photo messages and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's photos that anything that I really wanted to keep, I've already saved as a separate photo.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to delete them all.
Well, mine has always got documents and data. There's sort of random sort of space that it calls documents and data. And I'm like, what is it? What is this shit? How do I delete it? Where is it? And it's all this hidden data stuff that they store in different places. And I was just like, right. So the only way to be sure that I actually get rid of all of this is to set up from scratch. I was like, well, almost everything's in the cloud, so that's fine.
See, I've still done that. And oh, no, actually, I didn't do it on this phone. I did it on my old phone at some point.
I won't be deleting this one because it's a physical copy, and also Kirsten gave it to me as a present.
Doesn't take up space on your phone though, so
no, it does not.
Good. Yeah. No, I just I kept it on mine because I was like, you know, you never know, you might actually go back to it. I never did, but I did think that it was a possibility, so I kept it. But I think in the last month or so, I knew that I wasn't going back, and I was just like, I want to delete it. No, wait for the Hangout.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have so many audiobooks on here. Let's just get rid of these because they're huge.
Well, they're not actually that big, but yes, they're big enough. They're not videos.
So, yeah. Compared to a phone's data storage, they're huge.
There you go.
I don't know if anyone's going to give us shit on Facebook again, but I believe we are still live and still technically in this.
Yeah, I was going to say we might want to stop now. We haven't stopped talking about the book now. We
are still kind of talking about it.
But yes,
how we're going to delete it.
Maybe we should stop.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we should stop being live.
Stop while we're ahead, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody watching, good night. And I'm impressed that you lasted this long.
Yes, Kirsten and Naomi, feel free to join us now.
Yeah,
they're not actually watching us. We've got 0 viewers right now. So
they're going to bed.
All right.
Very smart.
Either that or they gave up on us finishing so they could join us. Who knows? Sure. All right. Bye, anybody watching.
Bye.
Bye.